Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend DG Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/CapesandLunatics. Hope to see you there.
In a world of capes and lunatics, gods and monsters, there are those who tell stories. The stories of those capes, lunatics, gods, and monsters on Marvel Assembled. Avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Forward Stream Ahead. I am your captain, Charlie the Professor Esser, and with me as always is my skinny rich friend and first mate,
it's Mozz.
And tonight we are talking Marvel Studios Assembled, the making of Ms. Marvel. Join Amandvolani and the cast and crew on set during the production of Ms. Marvel. Stars Kevin Feige, Sana Amant, Bisha K. Ali. See, all the people that are the creators are now the stars. And that's the whole point of all of this. Kevin Feige, self-executive producer. Sana Amant, Ms. Marvel co-creator, executive producer. Bisha K. Ali is our head writer and executive producer. Jenna Burgess, supervising producer. Adil El-Arabi and Bilal Falah are our directors and executive producers. And the list goes on and on. Of all the let's get the last two directors in here, which is Mira Menon as a director and Sharmeen Obed Chinay as a director. And then we get just good old Amandvolani as Kamala Khan, Matt Lintz as Bruno, Yasmin Fletcher as Nakia, Laurel Marsden as Zoe, Sugar Sakir as Amir, Mohan Kapoor as Yosef, Zenobia Shroff as Muniba Risha.
Muniba, I think. Yeah.
Muniba, yeah. And Risha as Carmen. Aramis Knight as Red Dagger. Nimra Buka as Najma. Farhan Akhtar as Walid. Gary Powell, second unit director.
Kamran's not listed there?
I'm sorry? Kamran, we listed Kamran a little while ago, didn't we? What was Kamran? Kamran, yeah. Kamran was Rish Shah.
Ah.
Yes. And then we've got Dan Carter is Salim, although it's always their self and their character. Aku Anangbo is Faria. Ali Al-Silla is Adam. Mewish Hayat is Aisha. Christopher Glass is our production designer. Fawad Khan is Hassan. Arjun Bashan is the costume designer. Travis Springer plays Tisha. And our hardest working person in show business this week is Norden Rahali, our visual effects supervisor, because there was a lot of visual effects to supervise. Just one other person, we have a Varda Aziz as Zanib, and Marvel Studios Legal is Nigel Goodwin. So give it up for the legal department.
Good old Nigel.
Yes, good old Nigel. Anyway, Yes. We also have visual effects by Christopher Chapman and Brendan Collect, which are the Plates Lab Wrangler and the Plates Lab Coordinator. Kevin
Those are on the
Feige.
steps she jumps on.
I have no idea. Kevin Feige, of course, executive producer. Lauren Borowski is our associate producer. And that is everybody IMD is going to tell us about today.
Woo.
That is a lot of people, but you know what? It takes a lot of
Not
people.
everybody.
No, not at all. Everybody. In fact, actually, probably a relatively small amount comparatively to how many people put together a show like this. But like I said, it's about storytelling. And one of the things I really liked about this thing is how much effort they did put the kids, front and center with Amandvolani and the actor who plays Bruno, where they do get to, they are doing our opening, and then they say it's with Ms. Marvel and Bruno and this and that and the other, and because it's all a cast of sidekicks, which was nice. But we get a lot of neat walkthroughs in this, and one of the things I really like is the Avengers Con scene, and the discussion of how this is not a comic book convention, it's a real life convention. Yeah. But based off of what you would see at a comic book convention, one assumes. And also very cool that it's at Camp Lehigh in New Jersey, which also, I found it interesting that they didn't realize that Camp Lehigh, the birthplace of Captain America, was in New Jersey. And, it's a nice little way to tie it all back into that beautiful thing of Amandvolani as Ms. Marvel are, and I don't want to call her the first superhero from New Jersey, because obviously she's not. That was the Toxic Avenger, but she's the first Marvel superhero.
Oh, okay.
No, Toxic Avenger. No, he's not Marvel. Although he does have the Toxic Crusaders did have a comic book tie-in through Marvel. Believe it or not. As it turns out, apparently Lloyd Kaufman and Stan Lee are friends. It's a small world, and they're all working in the same business, One of the people I really liked in this was Bishike Ali, who was our head writer. And I just loved how very nerdy she seemed to me. As, much in the way that, Amandvolani was this girl who, saw this superhero and just became enamored of her. And again, I think this is one of the things that, as I always say, that Marvel gets right, is Marvel hires fans who will want to dedicate themselves to doing right by the heroes. It
was also a tremendous undercurrent of everybody knowing the responsibility that was on their shoulders. Like when Black Panther came out or when Shang-Chi came out, it was a cultural moment for those communities. And these people understood the opportunity that they had. And they pulled really, really powerful, well-known actors from Pakistan and India and brought them over. And you could see how deeply excited everyone was for technically speaking, a little project, a little Marvel show, but everybody had such reverence for the opportunity in front of them to introduce a brown girl superhero and what it meant for the community at large. And everybody took that really seriously. And it was interesting to see that my favorite character on the show, Yusuf, the dad, was also a celebrated actor. And you could tell he was, one of the best actors on the show. And that makes sense now. He was already like a well-known, established, serious actor. So that made sense.
Yeah. But I also love his humility in that, where you made this point, where he says, I've never done this before. I mean, I've done lots of stuff. But I've never done this. I've never done and I have, I'm willing to learn how we do it for them. And I really enjoyed that. I like the fact that, the woman who plays Kamala's mom, made the point that she was once a dancer, which makes you wonder if those are like her actual glamour shots when she was a teenager. I really love their relationship that they get. We don't get as much of it as maybe you could, but I think we got just enough of it. You got this idea that, this was this, middle-aged couple very much in love, still working to raise this family and dealing with the complexities and the different dynamics that exist, between the two. I think that really makes for a beautiful thing. But yeah, I mean, we have, like, I believe, the guy who plays, not the Red Dagger, but,
Waleed.
Waleed, yeah, that he is apparently, Waleed is a noted actor as well, and I think that is, and again, it's just, they are taking these really noted names from the industry that people have been fans of for years. And, I mean, I'm a little disappointed Kincaid didn't show up, but I guess he was busy and maybe he's too big a star for this. So,
right. Although for him, this would have been an opportunity as well. He's from Pakistan as well. So,
yeah.
But I'm sure they're saving that for somewhere down the road. That is a pretty cool moment. Build stuff around.
I like the description of Adil and Bilal as the 6 best directors on set. Just discussing how they're just jumping all around and just seeming like way too many people. But I loved their enthusiasm, and they really seemed like kids in candy stores while they're putting this all together. And I can see why they were given, you can see the vibrancy in their personalities that definitely translates into the
like
way
when they grab a piece from the Avenger Con and say, the Hulk smashed this. Like that meant the world to them, that was such a little moment, it was like, they were just, what I would be doing. It's like, oh my God, that's really from the, and Kamal's like, that's from the battle in 2012. It's so cool.
Yes. It is great, and but and again, this is where we get, like I said, and that's where I think the Avengers Con scene does open up a lot. But I also love things that they talk about when they're discussing the intricacies of these sets they built. Like even like when they talk about the Red Dagger's lair, and it's like literally, it's like a supervillain lair that it's like no, it's like you would just think, oh, it would slide away and would see a door, but then then we'd cut to us walking down. It's like, no, we actually walked down an entire hallway across this thing to get to the secret lair. And I just thought first off, that is such commitment to the bit, and also it gives to it that reality. And that's one of the things I think that this, for outlandish as any superhero show ever is, I really think there was always this effort to make it real, to make you feel like this is honestly a physical place that you can inhabit. Not only that, but
the reactions to it are genuine. It's like, it's hard not to be taken aback by this world that they build around you. It's like, I don't have to try at all. I walk in here and I'm flabbergasted. And I wonder which takes they must have used of that moment, because it was Aramis's first time seeing the set as well. And he has to walk in like pretending like he knows the place. And Iman can just fully just be herself and be like, wow, she can ride that emotion, but he has to tamp it down and be like, oh yeah, no, I've been here before. So I wonder like which version of the take they used. And how difficult it must have been him to continue to play that while going, oh my God, this is all like, wow.
Well, these people are professionals. And, I am kind of curious because, there was something, Amandvolani kind of made it seem like this was her first audition or acting. I don't think it is, because she was saying how she'd never really thought to be an actor until she heard they were casting for that. Oh, no. Yeah. Okay. She's doing other things now, but yeah. So it looks like she has.
She's just a Captain Marvel fan who said, what? Why not? That sounds like my story. Minus the super stuff, but that sounds like my story.
Well, Well, being Canadian is a superpower in and of itself. So, I like that. I also like, I like what seemed to be the genuine relationship between Aman, Matt, and Yasmin, Bruno, Kamala, and Nakia. I really felt that you got that. And they said that they were all living in the same hotel, So it's like a dorm room for these high school kids in sleepaway camp. The friends you make.
Reminded me of like the first play I ever did in high school. And like normally as a grown up, you do plays, you get like, a couple of weeks of rehearsal at best, and back in high school, we had 3 months of rehearsal, where every day after school, you were around the same people and you were just doing the same thing, involved in the same pursuits, running those lines, and how close you guys got. And it must have been that way for them too. Really was nostalgic.
Yeah. And, even when you think about it, like they probably like were, and obviously because they're all minors, you can only work them so many hours. So you actually do have to spread it out a lot. But also there is 6 episodes. So, there's a lot they're getting done. So they probably were, and all under COVID restrictions too, no less. So yeah, they probably spent a lot of time together. This was their family. And I think it's great that they actually seem to, be good friends, at least in this.
It was kind of strange seeing, Bruno walk over to Conrad and be like, this guy's the man. I'm like, oh, that's adorable.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, they're really fun, and I will say, and of course, obviously that's the dynamic between the two characters. But he's also going to be honest. He's a cool guy, and it's neat that they can turn it off set, but because it is just for fun. We're not really these people, but they do seem to embody these people, and it's almost like what they used to say about the Little Rascals. It's like they just cast kids and says we need a fat kid, get Spanky, country kid, get alfalfa, get buckwheat in here, and that's how they did it. And it just, you throw these kids in there, you let the kids play, give them a rough script to work through, and you're going to make some brilliant stuff out of the deal. And I think that's sort of what happened with these guys, within their interpersonal dynamics. But then you do have, we have some great stuff on the visual effects as well. And how, I'm still not happy with their explanation for why they went with the energy armor. I know they did it, and I've made peace with it. In fact, if it reveals that it's actually something to do with the negative zone, and there's going to be this whole thing about that antimatter energy from this other universe that is, maybe even seeping in, and maybe that's part of the cosmic energies as well. There could be a lot that could be revealed about that, but I like that they tried their best to give us an embiggen scene, and especially because they understood, like, look, we're doing this and we need to make it work for the character, and we need to make it work for the story we're telling. And that was nice. I just really enjoyed what they were able to show us in this. I really think that there's so much that goes into making of these things. And there's a part of me that I kind of like the assembleds after the fact even better, because they really go into, okay, here's how we got these details right, Here's how we went in. In fact, there was actually even a thing they were talking about, like, all of the people that we meet in India or in Pakistan are all people from Pakistan. And it's like, we're not going to dress them. They're going to dress themselves because they know what it looks. This is what people are wearing. This is what you dress like. And that is how you design that whole set. You make it as real as possible by bringing in people who know what that looks like, So that was very, very neat. I'm trying to think of, like,
I think the two powerhouses of the show were the relationships between the people and the sort of coziness they were able to create in all those scenes. And watching this now, you get it as like, oh, those sets were really elaborate. It allowed you to feel at home in a space because everything was real around you. And everybody was living with each other. So they had that comfort and chemistry with each other. And that translated onto scene. And those are the two most powerful elements of that show. The family togetherness, represented by the relationships and by the environments and how homey it felt.
Yeah. And although I have to say it, and this is actually, where is he? Amir, Cigar, Shaikh, made me mad a little bit when he said, you know, I'm the millennial, so I've got to let these kids translate for me. It's like, quiet, you old young person.
She said I'm 40. How dare she?
Oh, I mean, it's correct and right for the character, and it's like, as an old man myself, you realize, oh yes, that's right. All the adults are actually like younger than me. Like, I'm actually probably closer in age to Yusuf.
Right. When Iman says, yeah, my great-great-grandfather was part of the partition, I was like, oh yeah, my grandfather used to tell me about that. It just shows you the level of distance between the two generations, you know?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, that's how it is. And, you know, it's,
granted, my grandfather was maybe like, you know, 8 years old or something like that, but still.
Yeah. I mean, it's, yeah. And that was also one of the most interesting things, I think, when we go back in time and we actually meet, Aisha, who I think, is a really great character. You know, it's always said when you get these great characters, like Aisha, like her husband, who, you know, just for constraints of story, we're never going to get a lot of, you know, because it's, you know, it's like, you know, Aunt Prue and Uncle Owen, we can get that one episode where we really get something cool, but it's like, yeah, but then for the next, you know, decade, they're dealing with a kid, and it's like day-to-day living, you know? I'm assuming stormtroopers aren't showing up every couple of days to kill Luke Skywalker, because that would kind of defeat the purpose.
Right.
You know, and so...
I think we should move.
Yes. But I do like the idea of, you know, that entire... And what they did, again, to build that. And there was, like, this whole thing where they build the flowers in, and, you know... And it's kind of funny because
I love that the whole environment was centered around a mango tree, which I thought was beautiful.
Yeah.
That's like the national fruit out there, you know. It's like the best fruit in the world.
Oh, yeah.
To any brown person you'll ever meet. Mango before everything.
Everybody likes mangoes. They are delicious. Okay. And children. How lovely they are. Yeah.
And that was interesting because, like, you get to have these actors that are from that part of the world, and all of a sudden you put them in the middle of, like, our greatest myth of the separation, the partition, and like, these people have to inhabit that world. And it must have been a surreal experience for them. Sounds like a really emotionally charged experience.
Yeah. And, you know, and again, for just, you know, that effort to recreate it, you know, and again, like, Aisha as a character is so fascinating, especially in the sense that she's like, you know, she's not even supposed to be there, you know, like, literally she's maybe 100 years old by this point, you know, that, you know, that everything that everyone is talking about, it didn't have meaning to her until she put down roots. And then she became a part of this country. And, you know, I think that is, you know, both a beautiful and tragic story. And, you know, you wonder what might have happened had, you know, they had been able to go off together and how different the world would be. It's a good what if story in there somewhere. So if you're thinking about what if season 2, Marvel, there's your one to do. What if Aisha had lived, you know, and she's got the bangle, and then maybe the grandma gets the bangle, and, you know, maybe that unlocks something in her. We don't know. But,
and if all that happens, maybe, you know, Kamala's family never comes to America. Maybe they establish a dynasty in India or in Pakistan.
Yeah, I mean, anything is possible, and that's what's great about comic books and what ifs and everything else is that you can tell this one story, but then it immediately opens up. Oh, and here's all the other stories that you can see, and here's all the other plot lines that we can explore. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really loved, I don't know. I heard someone complaining once about the way the mosque was designed in Jersey City, but I've been in Jersey City, and yeah, I've seen mosques that look like that. Honestly, they're often repurposed synagogues. But yeah, it's like you get like a big church and a big stained glass window, and you get that in Jersey City, because that happens,
there are some of like the more expensive, richer mosques, but then most of them are like in small rooms or,
Well, yeah, but what I'm saying is like there are repurposed buildings that are that like I've.
What was the criticism? What was the criticism that you read, that it was too elaborate?
So that like a lot of people's. I think they're thinking like mosques in New York City,
right?
Which are probably much more kind of like just all utility rooms that have been repurposed,
right.
And this is like a big elaborate mosque that to show that it is actually a city center. And like I said, when I've seen mosques in Jersey City and other places, it is usually, like I said, the one that I'm thinking of, it literally was a repurposed synagogue. So it used to be a synagogue, and then as ethnic parties move in and out, it got repurposed into a mosque, but it has, the big stained glass window, and it's got the big steps going up, just like, you would have in a proper religious environment. Yeah, exactly. So, to me, that was that complaint I felt was both mistaken because, like I said, there are mosques in Jersey City that do look like that, or the surrounding area. It might be in Hoboken. I could be mistaken exactly what part of town it's in, but I think it's mistaken to think that it is. That it wouldn't be correct, and even if you wanted to say that, it's still. I think they envisioned it in the way that it is, in this way that, in any immigrant community, they come in and they do bring that sense of home to it. So the streets of Jersey City really aren't that different than the streets of Karachi when we go to Karachi later, although obviously there is a bigger difference because obviously the streets of Karachi are much bigger and wider. And, there's more people, but, in the sense that the colors and the lights and the sounds that they should rhyme, I think actually makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. And that they would have this more elaborate mosque. Cause it is obviously a bigger mosque in the area.
Yeah.
Cause it's clearly pulling from everyone. It's not like one little group it's like this is whatever mosques this is, they've got all the different groups. Yeah. From all the different.
I'm sure on all the regular days they go to their own local mosques, but on the big day, like the Eid celebration, I'm sure everybody comes to like the community center big mosques.
Yeah, exactly. It's like when you have a cathedral in a Catholic neighborhood, right. You go to the big church. Maybe you go to your little church that's just down the way. On most events, but when you want to go for that big Easter Sunday Mass, you want to go to the Sacred Heart and get the big rose window and all that stuff. It's very beautiful. But yeah, so I thought that was very cool what they did there. I think they really envisioned what it would be like without overselling it, and I think that worked. And they even discussed the problems that, quite frankly, I think all city churches have. About. That parts of it are not as nice as it could be. And of course, the best pews are always reserved for the people that are being separated for whatever reason, whether it is by class or race or whatever, or in this case, gender. So that's another thing. I think that the show really made the experience much more universal if you're open to seeing how universal human societies are and groups are.
And I think conversations like that are the first steps towards fostering that understanding.
Yeah.
So it's good that
course,
the show is creating those conversations.
Yes. And of course, one of the most biggest things in it is we do get, of course, your big third act battle, which I do think, I think it's interesting because you can look at, because we really get two good fights back to back in this. You get that original. Well, of course, you have the Red Dagger fight in Karachi. You have the wedding, which is a good fight, but it's a lot more. And it's maybe even the evolution of fights that you see in Marvel, where you have your sort of closed quarters fight, which is the wedding, the open street fight, which is what you get in Karachi, and then you get your big superhero battle, which is really arguably not even so much a superhero battle as the battle to contain superhumans, and also the collateral damage. I'm sorry?
People with mutations, to contain people with mutations?
Yeah, well, that too. Exactly,
Foreshadowing that whole thing, right?
Yeah, and this is, and, they really went a lot. I love that they've got the Hulk weapons, that, again, tying it right back to the original Hulk. And, of course, we got She-Hulk coming. So, we haven't seen the last of these repulsor cannons, Damage Control took control of all of Stark Tech's unregulated tech, and they are having a field day.
This was the tech used by Thunderbolt Ross, wasn't it?
Yes, but it was also designed by Stark.
Oh.
This is one of those great Easter eggs from that Hulk movie. I don't like to call it the first Hulk movie, because it's technically the second Hulk movie, and maybe even the third Hulk movie, right? No. Yeah, no, that's the second Hulk movie. That's right, because Eric Bana was the first one. Yeah, the first one by Ang Lee, which I still say is an underrated film.
I think it's better than the others, in my opinion, but I'm the minority there, I know.
And I even like the fact that, that one ends off in South America, and then the second one takes up in South America, which is why I always feel that there's maybe not as much continuity, but there's some threads of universal variants that go through it. And then, but if you see one of the Easter eggs in that is during the credits, and I believe it's even the opening credits, they're showing all the weapons, or maybe it's the end credits, but they're showing all the blueprints for the weapons, and you see Stark Industries on all of the blueprints.
Wow.
Because that's who they were hiring to build weapons to contain superhuman threats. Wow. Because the reality is that the world was changing, and we needed weapons that could control these threats, because there will be threats. But yeah.
Overall, I think they fit as much into 6 episodes as they possibly could, and they did it in a way where you were satisfied towards the end and hopeful about what it brings for the future. And they paid the appropriate amount of reverence to the cultural moment that it was creating as well, which I thought were all solid benchmarks to hit here.
Oh, absolutely. And what I think is maybe one of the best aspects of that is just this idea that you can tell a really great story about a culture and a people and a group without hitting you over the head, and making it about that, You tell the story, you tell a great story. So here's one of the things I always like to talk about, There is, and it's a meme that goes around about, some writing teacher in college is telling people, I do not want you writing horror stories, sci-fi stories, fantasy stories here. You're not here to learn to write those things, because those things at their core are distraction. And when you do have a well-written fantasy story, sci-fi story, horror story, it's not because it's a horror story or because it's a sci-fi story, because it's a fantasy story. It's because it's a human story. And you can set a human story anywhere, and it becomes a good story. And, Spider-Man isn't Spider-Man because, he punches the Green Goblin. Spider-Man is Spider-Man because he's a teenager struggling with money issues and, a difficult family home life that he's got to navigate. Well, yeah.
And all that other
that's
stuff is window dressing that makes it cooler. But if the heart of it isn't a good human story, none of that other stuff matters. It only matters
exactly.
if humans inhabiting that story are interesting.
And of course, what people said about Ms. Marvel, people who are Ms. Marvel fans, is, this really gives you those strong Peter Parker vibes of this teenager going to school, navigating crushes and friendships and all these things that make up a good story, regardless of if they had powers. And they even made that point. They said, we had to be able to tell this story without superpowers, which I think is the most important writing tip you can ever have if you want to write anything, is whatever your conceit is, that story has to be able to be told without the conceit. Because the conceit may look cool, and we can love some deep lore about the Force and arc reactors and vibranium. But if we don't make these characters human, all that stuff doesn't make them more human. And it doesn't hide what you're writing. But, like I said, they got it. They got it. And again, I think they got it because, as always, they went and found fans. They went and found people that understood the characters, understood their stories, both action, again, not only in the creatives and the writers, but right down to the actors, Amandvolani is there is so much about this girl that is me, and that is, I think, what makes her so believable and honest in the role. And I'm really looking forward to seeing her in the Marvels. I think she's gonna really knock it out of the park. So
I love that they kept showing that picture of her dressed as Miss Marvel 3 years ago for Halloween.
Oh yeah,
meant to be.
But exactly. And and not for that was a really good costume.
Yeah,
or something that was handmade. So she had to get her grandmother to
together for her. I love it. Oh yeah, it was great.
And that's got to be just a sweet part of her memories and her life. I don't know the status of her grandmother, but I hope that memory is something that gives her joy for the rest of her life, because that is honestly, it's a rare thing when you have that connection with someone who can just give to you in a way to help you be something. I remember when my mother sewed up my captain, it's technically a U.S. agent outfit. At the time, it was Captain America because he was the captain. Okay. And so my mom actually sewed me the whole, we got the black, the black sweatpants. My mom sewed on the bar, the shield with the empty star here. And we took an old, sled and we made my very cool black and red shield. It was pretty awesome. That was one of my best things ever. And, even had the little mask I had for years. I don't know where it is now, but I think at one point, even Tristan wore it for a little bit, wow. But,
that's cool.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's my story. Okay. Mozz, any final thoughts on tonight's episode?
No, I'm blown away. I was very surprised by this show. I didn't expect it to be as good as it was. And every trepidation I had about how they might be heavy-handed with certain things, culturally speaking or whatever, they had a deft and subtle hand with it. And it served the story in a broader way. They told a really, really interesting and engaging story. And like you said, all the other bells and whistles were nice, but it all worked because they told a good story.
Exactly. And our next story is going to be the She-Hulk, dropping this Thursday. So listen for that, good listeners. And in the meantime, if anyone would like to reach out to us, talk to us about Capes and Lunatics, they can do so at CapesandLunatics, all spelled out, at gmail.com. Call us and leave us a voice message at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And you can go to Linktree, that's linktr.ee/Capes and Lunatics. Look for the link in the show note where you can buy yourself a real aluminum mugs that keep your aluminum, like they say in Canada. Okay. No, I have to finish the podcast.
You're in America, Dad. You're in America, Dad. Act right.
Yes. Bet you Amandvolani says aluminium.
Maybe. I doubt it, though. She's an American.
No, she's a Canadian.
Oh.
Right, man.
Oh, right.
All the best actors come from Canada. Everyone knows that.
Hey.
Okay. Present company accepted. But go to that. Go to Linktree, linktr.ee/capesandlunatics, again spelled out. You can get our merch. You can subscribe to our Patreon, where you can get full video content for as little as $5 a month, where you will be able to not only see topless movie reviews, but find out the worst superhero film of all time, at least from the random collections that we picked. And if you are one of our contributors, you get to vote on it too. You get to settle the feuds. Anyway, Mozz, if people would like to talk to you about She-Hulk, about Ms. Marvel, about anything in the universe, how can they find you?
They can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And, of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way the way our mothers and fathers once did, before the Millennials started doing everything.
Or before the Gen Z started confusing the Millennials. My God.
Yes. Oh, goodness. And then that's at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitter as I live tweet things like the Return of Stargirl at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle.
For quality. Ding.
Thank you, Mozz. All right, me hearties, you've come to the end of another adventurous time learning about the world of Capes and Lunatics, Gods and Monsters. Come aboard again next week when we once again sail full stream ahead. Arr.